In the glittering courts of ancient China, power wasn't always held by kings or generals. Sometimes, it rested in the hands of women whose touch meant death. They were called the Dunu, the poisoned women. Hidden within palaces and noble households, they served emperors, concubines, and assassins. Their art was silence. Their weapon was chemistry, and their story was buried for centuries. In ancient China, poison wasn't just a tool for murder. It was a political language. The earliest records date back to the Zhou dynasty, around 1,000 years before the Common Era, where court documents mention poison testing in royal kitchens. By the Han dynasty, poisons had become weapons in the brutal struggle for power among imperial consorts and officials. One of the earliest and most chilling accounts comes from the Book of Han, describing Empress Elzi, the ruthless wife of Emperor Gaozu. To eliminate her rivals for the throne, she reportedly forced her enemies to drink poisonous wine or had their food laced with deadly herbs. But behind these high-profile acts were the silent hands of women, trained to prepare the perfect, undetectable dosi. According to historical records in ancient medical texts like the famous Benkao Gangmu by Li Shizhen, the craft of poison combined botany, alchemy, and medicine. Some girls, often slaves or servants chosen for their obedience and discretion, were trained from childhood. They learned to extract toxins from snakes, scorpions, minerals like arsenic, and herbs like wolfsbane into two. Their masters taught them a single, crucial leçon: a visible death is a failed death. So, poisons were mixed to mimic natural causes as sudden fever, creeping paralysis, or a fatal heart failure. The goal was for the death to appear tragic, but never suspicious. By the Tang and Song dynasties, this dark art had become so advanced that emperors reportedly maintained secret poison houses, hidden estates, where deadly ingredients were grown and tested in secrecy. Far from prying eyes, the Tang dynasty, from the 7th to the 10th century, was a golden age of art, silk, and imperial expansion. But it was also the age of the most infamous poison women. In the glittering capital of Kangan, palace intrigue ran deep. Among the thousands of concubines vying for the favor of Emperor Xuanzong, jealousy and ambition often turned deadly. One story, preserved in the old court chronicles, tells of Consort Wu, a woman accused of poisoning her rival's cosmetics. She allegedly laced the makeup with mercury. Her victim's face slowly discolored and decayed, a horrifying fate that onlookers saw as divine punishment. But in reality, it was a cold, calculated, chemical murder. And yet, poison wasn't always used for hate. Sometimes, it was a form of protection. Female bodyguards and trusted servants were trained to test food for poison before it reached their masters. A common method was touching a silver needle to the dish and watching for it to blacken a sign of certain poisons. But for those who served as the first line of defense, a single mistake was their last. The women who tasted the food and found it tainted rarely lived to tell the tale. During the Ming Dynasty, from the 14th to the 17th century, the art of poisoning reached a terrifying level of sophistication. Secret manuals known as dushu, or books of poison, circulated among alchemists and court physicians. Some described mixtures that could kill instantly, while others detailed concoctions that caused slow, wasting deaths over weeks or even months, making it impossible to trace the source. Historical archives mention the Yaowen women trained as poison assassins or spies for powerful warlords. They often disguised themselves as dancers, concubines, or servants, getting close to their targets with disarming ease. A single drop in a teacup, a pinch of powder in a bowl of rice, or even a kiss laced with a fast-acting toxin, and an enemy of the state would simply disappear without a trace. One shocking record from the Ming court details the confession of a noblewoman who killed her abusive husband using arsenic hidden in his medicinal soup. Her admission stunned the empire, but court officials quietly admitted that such accidents were disturbingly common. What made these women so feared wasn't just their knowledge, it was their precision. Chinese medical texts of the time listed hundreds of toxic plants, minerals, and venoms. These poison masters understood how to balance dose and timing with the skill of an early pharmacologist. Even today, modern scientists have confirmed the deadly effects of their ancient recipes. Arsenic trioxide causes violent vomiting and catastrophic heart failure. Aconitine, extracted from the monkshood flower, induces paralysis, and stops the breath. Realgor and cinnabar, both mercury-based poisons, were known to cause madness before death. To the poison women, death was chemistry, not emotion. They saw their work as an art, a service, or a command to be followed without question. As dynasties fell and empires changed, the poisoned women vanished from official records. By the late Qing dynasty in the 1800s, the practice was outlawed and punishable by death, but the legends remained, whispered in folk tales, novels, and in some provinces, a common warning to young men was, "Beware the woman with Kamai Shi, might know the poison art." Their story faded into myth, yet their legacy lingers in Chinese literature and medicina haunting, a reminder of the thin line between a healer and a killer. In the end, the poison women of ancient China weren't simply monsters. They were survivors in a world ruled by men, where silence was power and knowledge was a dangerous weapon. They turned oppression into a form of control, mastering the secrets of life and death from the shadows. Their poisons may be gone, but their story still makes you wonder, who really held the power? The emperor on his throne, or the woman pouring his tea? Thanks for watching. If you found this journey into history as fascinating as I did, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more stories hidden in the pages of the past. See you next time.